Welcome y'all to the Defender Roundtable. I'm Aswad Walker, Associate Editor of the Defender Network. Today's topic is America ready to elect a Black woman president? And to discuss this pressing issue, we have Terrence Harris, Laura Onyenihot, and the illustrious one and only sincere Sonny Messiah Giles. Welcome y'all. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we're one day away from the official election day, where we will potentially find out who will be our 47th president of the United States. Personally, I cast my ballot on the first day of early voting, and I'll say it with my full chest: I voted for Kamala Harris. But we know that this is America, home of racism and sexism on steroids, a country where a Black woman has to be 15 times more qualified just to get half the opportunities. So today's topic, today's question is extremely relevant. Is America ready to elect a Black woman president? Laura, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Well, thank you very much, Aswad. My thoughts are pretty clear. For me, I think it's an unanswerable question. I feel like it's so heavily loaded when it comes to this topic because it requires a lot of historical context, a lot of cultural knowledge, and a lot of speculation like we're doing right now. And so not too long ago, for example, we were almost there with having our first woman president with Hillary Clinton, and she lost back in 2016. And at that point in time, we couldn't definitively say that she, because of her loss, it was because of her gender. There were a lot of things going on at that time. She is what we will call the establishment. She's been in the business for decades. She's a polarizing figure. And so hence, when people are voting, they're not only thinking about, okay, she's a woman, but they're also thinking about what her stances are throughout the decades of her being in office, right? So for VP Harris, she's under pressure, for example, for foreign affairs, even though it doesn't have anything to do with our domestic affairs, but a lot of people are putting pressure on her position on Israel, for example, but that has nothing to do with her gender. We have to remember that this country has elected the first Catholic president, the first Black president, and then when we're tired of that, we elected Trump. So we can't really say, oh, are we ready? But it's literally in the moment of whatever is happening at that time to depend on whether or not the people are ready for whatever or whoever candidate is at that time. So that's why I think it's unanswerable for me.
And speaking of the moment, Sonny, don't you have some numbers that speak to where we are as a country?
Yeah, what was interesting in just looking up some of the research, Aswad, was that in a CBS News poll, they said in August, okay, now keep in mind, August is when the Democratic Convention took place. It was 68% of people said that they would vote for a Black woman specifically. In October, the same poll came back and it said 74%. So there is an increase, or people are at least saying they're more accepting of it. But what's interesting to me is just to look at how the messaging of gender equality is being displayed in broad daylight now. I mean, you have men who are saying, okay, women have gotten enough, they don't need any more. And you have women who on the flip side are saying, okay, we still got a long way to go when it comes to everything from the respect in elected official positions to making the same amount of money, which that still is a big discrepancy. But on the political front, I think Laura makes a good point I think the acceptability of women was demonstrated with Hillary winning the popular vote. But this is a little bit different because this is race factor being played into it. And I'm not sure, folks, I think even if she gets elected, she's going to have a higher bar, a higher standard of being looked at, what are accomplished, how she works, what the process is. All of that is going to be at a higher standard. And all of us know, our mamas and daddies told us, you got to work twice as hard as the other in order to get ahead. I think she's done a good job considering the few months she's been running for this office.
Yeah, got to work twice as hard to get half as much. And we already know, I
Thank
mean, we see it through the campaign that she's held to a higher standard than the orange person. But speaking of the orange person, Terrence, what are your thoughts on America being ready to elect a black woman president, and what happens if we don't?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I mean, we'll be in a world of trouble. I mean, first of all, let's not even think about this as being a woman. I mean, this woman is, Kamala Harris. She is the most qualified by far. I mean, when you look at her credentials and her makeup, I mean, if you're dwelling on the fact that she's a woman, you're missing the point. But also let's think about Donald Trump. Can we afford more of him? I mean, in his last run as president, look at the trouble he got us into. Look at the number of justices he appointed. And I mean, we're talking about 198 between federal judges, appellate judges, and the Supreme Court. And so he's already stacked it. I mean, he has a chance to maybe double that. And our kids and our grandkids would have to pay for that in the long run because I mean, no business in our favor would ever get done. So, when you're thinking about this, I think you have to think about this from the standpoint of can we afford not to put our trust in Vice President Harris?
Yeah, and you made an excellent point. She's not even focusing on the quote unquote historic nature of her run, being a woman, being a black woman, being a South Asian woman. She's focused on moving forward. She's focused on programs. She's focused on processes. What are we going to do? While the other dude is focused on the same hate, division. Any closing thoughts you all on where we're going? Because I mean, it's tomorrow. We find out.
Yeah, it's amazing how tight this race is. To me, this is an indictment on America, though, from the
Yeah.
standpoint of where is our balance of character, I don't know, it's mind blowing to me to see 55% women for Harris and 55% men for Trump. And what is happening to this split that's happening? So whoever gets elected, half of the country is not for them. So that's the dynamic that we're walking into.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just think we got to show up and show out at the polls tomorrow. If you haven't already cast your vote, show up. I mean, make your voice heard. I mean, please do. Don't play with this.
I agree with you, Terrence. We just got a report yesterday about how the turnout was double in the Kingwoods and in the Woodlands compared to some of the Black precinct areas. So don't assume that Black folks are out there voting in big numbers. According to the stats, that's not the case. So go vote if you haven't voted yet.
Lord have mercy. And with that, Laura, you got some final words of encouragement for us?
I mean, you guys said it all. I mean, I just want to make sure we debunk the fact that if you have a woman in office, that this woman will not be able to hang
Right.
in that position. We have many examples in foreign countries of women who were prime ministers and presidents, and they've done very, very well for the most part, And some people can argue with me, but they were in those elected positions. They did what they had to do. So I don't see how, if we can see that, why can't it happen here?
Right.
And on top of that, if we don't like what VP Harris is doing in office, that's what the power of the vote is for. You can vote her out after the 4 years. We did that with Trump, and the power to vote can do it again. So I don't really see what the issue is as far as the vote. Vote means a lot of things.
You and me both, soul sister. You and me both. So, in closing, one of the people I interviewed for this article, Mary Fontenot, she's a quote unquote mayor of Pleasantville. She said something I thought was profound. She said there will always be two versions of America: one that is ready for this moment, and one that will never be ready. So it's really up to us voters to decide: will we who are ready for this moment show up and show out and make it happen, or will those who will never be ready trump us, literally trump us? And so with that, hey, thank you all for tuning in. If you found anything we said inspiring, informative, or useful, please hit the like button, share it with all those folk in your circles. And as always, support Defender Network journalism. Support Black journalism. And visit us at defendernetwork.com. See you next time on Defender Roundtable.